That is recording. Let's see. Creating the world in front of me. Take. So, earlier today, I was doing one of my favorite things, which is thinking about myself. And I was just reflecting on the way it's really funny. People, really believe me and always have. I I guess kind of my sense of humor and the way I'm sarcastic is very dry. And also, I think sometimes I have such enthusiasm for my own creations that people think it's a thing. So, be it some random thing that came to my head and I said aloud, like people always ask me what movie that's from. I think one of my most iconic, most early things of this was because I like to create the world in front of me. I almost have this need to do things my own way, and that's also interesting because I don't know. I feel like that sort of thing can be very just like reaction and like pushing away, but it's never been that for me. I'm just like I want to make things more interesting, more fun, and like better suited for me, I guess. Anyway, one of my earliest successes in this front of creating my own world and then also so believing in my creation that it has a certain credibility to it um, was I must have been in elementary school or maybe early middle school, but our Volts cousins were in Portland visiting, and we had a fun like little sport day at Lewis and Clark on the football field, and which was a favorite haunt growing up, and just like always fun, like tossing the pigskin around or just messing around. And this day, I basically, with the help of my siblings, but the story goes it was definitely like my creation. Come up with this game using the lacrosse goals, I think with American football, and I don't know if we had other equipment, but I also just made up the rules. And if I remember correctly, it was something akin to kind of like netball or ultimate frisbee, where you can't move when you have the ball, but it's all about passing. But it was like scoring with the football in the lacrosse goal. And I think so. My cousin Darcy, she remembered it the most, and I think she said there was something about like throwing the ball up in the air when you get tackled. That sounds pretty fun. But so I just made up this game and we played it the afternoon, and I guess had such a fun time that Darcy took Football Espanola thinking it was like a real game that I had heard or like learned from somewhere. And the name was just, I guess, yeah, Football Espanola, because I could think of like American football and I wanted to switch it around. But so she taught it to her class, and I think maybe her whole school or the whole like PE. Whitehall is a much smaller town than Portland, but I just like love that so much because it's great. Like it is a real thing, but it's just some random bullshit that that I just came up with on a day. Like let's just have some fun, and Darcy taught the whole school or taught her gym class, and so that's one of my early moments of just creating the world in front of me. And I think that energy is like imbued with everything I do and in my photography and in my slobcore kitchen. I mean, that's probably the biggest thing. One of the biggest things is I was doing all this cooking for a while, but especially after graduating college, and then when I was working a night shift in the early pre-vaccine days of COVID, I was just cooking a bunch, and like that was my main thing. It's always been one of my main therapies. Like even in college when I was stressed, especially when I had an apartment, I'd do a lot of cooking or snacking. Made a lot of pork chops in that apartment. That was a good time. Um, but so it's very therapeutic for me. But it was just uh, late 2021. I'd always kind of thought about doing cooking content. Like I would post like phone photos of my cooking, and people seemed to like that. But the act of actually like doing a creative project was still really scary to me. But then it just worked out. I got my papa's old GoPro that he had gotten from some college school research project that had just been sitting in his office for a while. And that was enough because that could get the footage. And I had the plan to do the recording. And I didn't have as good of mics back then, or I didn't really know editing wise what I'm doing. I mean, right now my stuff's really basic too. But that was enough just to, okay, let me share this cooking I'm already doing. And it's kind of impossible to like really fit together what slobcore is and what it's grown to, but I've just had so many amazing like connections and a lot of personal growth and a lot of like personal sharing. Like that's the thing. It's this on a lark, let me cook in my kitchen shirtless and just like record my thoughts and just I needed that structure to be able to create, or else I would get way too in my head and I would just like overthink it to oblivion and end up not doing anything. Which is something that I would try to not do as much because it's so easy and it's something I've done in the past. But so that's what Slobcore starts as, and then all of a sudden, oh, the tuna melt video goes viral. Okay, this is kind of fun. But I still like in my heart, like I knew that I needed my own parameters to be able to create, and so I've stuck pretty strongly to them. But then it just becomes whatever it becomes, and I meet a lot of friends. I'm just able to share, and like even people that have been in my life for a long time know a lot more about me, which is terrifying sometimes, but it's also really fucking awesome. And then what do you know? Fucking Riley dies, and all this slobcore stuff had been happening through that, and partially as like something for Riley, and also as something that I needed for myself to be able just to process. And I'm just focusing on feeding myself and feeding my friends, feeding my family, because I'm really worried and stressed, and there's all this stuff going on in the background. And then Riley dies, and then slobcore just becomes griefcore, and it still isn't, always will be, but I am like not so single focus minded on my grief. But it's just truly fucking nuts to contemplate the fact that I had created this thing that I ended up using and needing. And I still haven't gone back and like I made a compilation of all the grief cores from the first 6 months, which ended up being like 6 hours long, the full compilation. And it's wild, just like all those videos, so many of you watched the entire thing and grieved along with me and learned with me and just have been so supportive. So yeah, I just thinking about myself and like really grateful for the things that I did and have created and have just let be, because they've been so important to me and apparently to other people, which is really nice because I also, this last year, just going through the grief, it's like there's these things that I know I love and I'm so excited about, but it's sometimes hard to feel that excitement when there's just so much sadness. But like at the beginning, I just constructed slobcore in this certain way, and it will serve whatever purpose it needs. But for now, like I'm just really grateful. So there's my little essay for you. I'll see you later. Bye.